I love the book of Job, and I want to talk a little bit today about how the book of Job testifies of Christ. So the book of Job, Job himself is a symbol. His life is a symbol of foreshadowing of Christ. He's described as a perfect or upright or blameless man. He suffers without cause. And something that some people don't notice as much is he mediates with God on behalf of other people. So, for example, in the first chapter of the book of Job, it talks about how Job performs sacrifices for his children, so that they can, because perhaps his children have sinned. And then later on, at the very end of the book, in the epilogue, God tells Job to perform sacrifices and to pray in behalf of his friends Eliphaz, Bildad, and Zophar. And God hears Job's prayer on behalf of his friends. And so, just as Christ mediates for us with our Heavenly Father, Job mediates for other people as well throughout the book of Job. Other ways that the book of Job points us to Jesus Christ include establishing a case for why we need Jesus Christ. Several times throughout the book of Job, Job talks about how he feels like God is so far above, so distant, so perfect, so different than humanity, that he wishes that there was a mediator, or he wishes that God were able to take on human hands or eyes so that he could relate to human suffering. And that is something that Jesus Christ did. The book of Job shows that Jesus Christ makes it so that God can be a just God. He can judge us righteously because he experienced humanity. He can, because Jesus Christ experienced humanity, and Jesus Christ can mediate between humanity and God the Father. And then finally, the book of Job points us to Christ just through some of the verses, some foreshadowing. For example, there's that famous verse in Job chapter 19, verses 25 to 27, where Job talks about how he knows that his Redeemer lives and that in his flesh he will see God, the testifying of the resurrection and also of a Redeemer. And then there's just a couple of other interesting little foreshadows. So, for example, in Job chapter 9, Job is talking about the justice and the greatness of God. And in verse 7, referring to God, he says, which alone spreadeth out the heavens and treadeth upon the waves of the sea. So Jesus Christ, he did spread out the heavens. Jesus Christ created the world, but the phrase treadeth upon the waves of the sea is a direct foreshadowing of Jesus Christ's miracle of walking on the water. And there's several other little verses like that in the book of Job that foreshadow Christ's roles and Christ's miracles and his resurrection and his mediation between humanity and God. So I love the book of Job. It points us to Jesus Christ.